Welcome back everyone, Ronan here, and today I'm going to cover a few class guides in Divinity Original Sin. Let's start off with my group formation. I'm not saying this is the best formation to go for, but this is a pretty good formation throughout the game. It's a good all-around build. I would probably recommend to swap out the Knight late game because it tends to be less useful. Early game, the Knight is pretty useful. It's good to have a melee fighter to hold up the enemies, but later in the game you have your casters that can do that with crowd control. So I have two mages, which is my main, Jahan, then Medora is my knight, and I have my rogue. I highly recommend a rogue. You need at least a rogue or a ranger for lockpicking, stealth, scouting. It's really handy to have at least one stealth class. I actually even get stealth on my knight for the late game because then it just boosts your damage output. So let's have a quick look at the classes. So my main, he's a mage. Stats, you try to put as many points in intelligence as possible. I plan my build around Glass Canon. I have 3 of my characters as Glass Cannons. I would recommend having 7 speed. 9 is just too much that you'll have to put too many points in Constitution. These points though, I have my base at 7. You want to match your Constitution to your speed to be able to have the proper action points per turn. If you look here, I have 14 action points per turn, a maximum of 17. Now the reason why it's 17, it's because of my Constitution. If you look at the secondary stat action points, it tells you what it gets boosted from what. So my base is 7 plus 10. Now I'd only need plus 7 because I'm only getting 14 action points per turn. But since my gear gives me more Constitution, it's not really a big deal because then I can have some reserve points from the turn before if I need to. The reason why I say 7 action points is because for every 2 speed on the odd number, you'll get 1 extra action point. Now at 7 with Glass Cannon, you end up having 14 because Glass Cannon gives you double your action points. If you're at 9, it gives you 18. Now that's a lot of action points per turn. It could work for you, but you have to have a lot of Constitution. You'd have to have at least 11 Constitution to make it work. So if you have 7, it lets you boost your intelligence a lot more and you'll do more damage with your mage. Now let's look over abilities. I don't get anything here. Tenebrium weapon comes free. That's so you can handle Tenebrium, either the ore or the weapons later on. Defense, these are just perks from the armor and traits. Now I don't recommend doing like I did. I got 4 skills. Now that's too many. I would pick 2 to maybe 3. Was planning on having 2 maxed out. The reason why I picked 4 was to be able to show as many spells as possible when it came time to show what spells I really liked and what works well together. So you want to max out at least 2 and maybe work on a 3rd one. I don't know if I'll be able to max 4 with this character, so I may have to respec, which is also possible just for show and tell purposes. As far as personality, I generally give points to my mages for the leadership, seeing as a lot of the points are not as needed. This time around I gave more points in leadership. You want to have 2 characters with points into leadership for the boost. It boosts initiative, damage, chance to hit, critical hit chance, and armor. On the next level, it'll actually boost willpower also, and it's a pretty good upgrade. It's a pretty big boost. It doesn't boost the person that have the ability. So you want to have it on 2 people to maximize so that everybody has the ability. And it's also, I think, a line of sight, or at least a certain proximity. So if you're outside that range, this might affect, let's say, a ranger, because ranger does get a really long range with his bow. So you want to have it on 2 people. Lucky charm, it's only, I would put that on your rogue if you really want to, so that you can, when you open chests, you'll actually have a higher chance of getting items. Now, the only points I have in crafting is because of gear or traits. You want to have at least 1 character that has the lore master. Now generally mages are really good to get these non-combat related skills, because unless you're doing like I do, trying to get too many skills at the same time, you don't necessarily need defense, you don't need weapons, because you're going to be able to crowd control your way through the game pretty much, and you can summon elementals to actually tank for you. so you shouldn't be getting hit too much. You should be able to, you know, hold the line and keep the enemies either frozen or stunned, blind, anything that works, so that they miss their turns. And in Nasty Deeds, I don't have anything here that's from points. Now, so you need at least one person with Lore Master. If you designate somebody to be your, you know, identify mule, basically, you don't want to get a Lore Master on any other character. You just keep it for that one character, because you just transfer the gear and have him identify it by right-clicking on the gear. That's it for my first mage. Jahan comes with blacksmithing and crafting, so for me, I tend to use him, and you want to have both on the same character, because some of the abilities or some of the items that you craft, you need both levels, so you'll need blacksmithing and crafting to craft the one item. So for him, I actually did follow my own advice, and I picked 3. The reason why his intelligence is not as high is because he has a higher constitution, and his perception is also higher, which I sacrificed on this character to boost my intelligence from End of Time Demon. So one thing I forgot to mention, with a mage, you would want to have all sealed up near the beginning, because you won't have many options, and you can use that to boost some early level skills. Far Out Man is a must, in my opinion, because then you can be just farther away from the enemy and still hit them, which is really nice. And if you have spells that are like 3 meter or 5 meter spells, it'll actually increase those also. I got 5-star dinner. I never really used it before. I don't know if I have anything I can eat, but it would just basically doubles the effect of the food, so heals 13. So it probably would have healed like 7 or 6 point something. Now my favorite, Glass Cannon. Glass Cannon is awesome. It will double your AP for every turn, but it reduces your health by half. Now that's a pretty big jump, because I'd have about 1400 or so, but because I have Glass Cannon, it'll actually reduce me to 700, which on normal is fine, but if I go on hard, like I've been playing throughout this playthrough, just to show you, I have 270. Where I am in the game, one hit will more than likely kill me. So you have to be really careful when you're playing on hard, because your health is going to be so low. My Knight, which doesn't have Glass Cannon, he has 858, and if I go onto normal, or she now has 1200, and I think even if you go on easy, 15, almost 1600. That's a huge difference. I mean, that would be really easy. You wouldn't have to do any crowd control with this. So let's just confirm my numbers with my mage. So 1200 essentially, 700, and then 270. That's a big difference. So Glass Cannon lets you use more abilities per turn, so you can do more damage, you can crowd control more people, even summon an extra, like, not an extra, but you can summon an ad on your turn and still have time to blind somebody, which is really nice. Now I got Pet Pal. It's only for story purposes. You get extra backstory, you get some quests that you can't finish without Pet Pal, so it's not a bad one to get, but it has no combat value. It's only for extra lore, extra XP, but nothing big. You're not going to get an extra level just from getting Pet Pal. Weatherproof is nice. It makes you immune to environmental effects. So if I were to have a lightning puddle on the ground or a fire puddle on the ground, I would be able to walk through it. Now I can't display this right now because the character is actually going to try to walk around it, unless... Do I have... So if I try to walk... See, he's trying to walk around it. I guess that's useless then. I almost died. Huh. You'd think burning is a environmental effect. Alright, well, that's surprising. Well, I don't know what an environmental effect would be then. Maybe poison? Alright, so now you have... oh, maybe poison, because it is an earth. Let's see. Nope, still poisoned. I think I don't take damage from walking on the poison, but I still get poisoned. Because I didn't take any damage from the actual walk. That's my best guess. By this point, there's not really all that much that you can really get to make like a huge difference. Like the biggest one was Glass Canon. An extra attribute point, that'd be nice. It's not, no, not huge, but I'm trying to look at what else I could get with my Mage if I were to get an extra point. It'd probably be Stench if you plan on getting hit by melee. I don't get attacked by melee, so I don't get that. Know-it-all would be nice for an extra id point. You know, that's not that big a deal. Escapist, if you don't plan on... if you plan on trying to run or you're having a hard time, then maybe get Escapist, but I don't see it being that useful if you plan ahead. So there's not really all that much, unless I got my skills to level 5. So it's hard to pick. I would stay away from Lone Wolf if you are new to the game and you don't really understand how the game works. It is fairly hard to play Lone Wolf if you get your character crowd controlled, you know, blind, knock down, anything. You're down half your party as opposed to 25% of your party, which can be huge. So I don't really recommend it unless you know what you're doing. So that's about it for mages. There's not really all that much more you would get. You know, elemental affinity would save you an action point, you know, if you're staying on the same elemental surface. The only thing with that is that with Glass Canon, you don't need the extra action point. So Jahan is another mage, I'm just going to skip him. That basically covers a mage in Divinity Original Sin for the stats and skills. I'll cover a bit more on spells in another video. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.